last class, we were discussing about the various models. So, in that, we discussed about angle collateral model. Next, we discussed about Nicosia model. So, under where we discussed also discussed the various factors under those models which lead to consumer behavior. Actually, different authors or different models has given an idea about the various aspects that the consumer takes into consideration while making a choice about a product or a services. So, uh, we also discussed about Bitman model, which we discussed in detail. So the processing capacity, the motivation, attention, and perceptual encoding. So all these aspects, consumption and learning process. Psychological aspects, we also discussed about the Maslow's hierarchy theory, which I also explained what is the need hierarchy theory. So it starts with physiological needs and ends with the self-actualization needs. So here, the physiological needs are the basic needs. So how at different levels of what do we say, the needs, the consumer behavior also varies from time to time. So that we discussed, perception we discussed. Uh, so under this, so today we are going to, and of course we discussed about lifestyle, which is effective use of time and money. So today we are going to discuss consumer learning theory. So what do we actually mean by consumer learning theory? See, before taking into consideration the consumer learning theory, so first we need to understand what is learning. See, learning is relatively a permanent change in one's behavior as a result of experience. See, this is a simple explanation with respect to the learning process. So, learning is a permanent behavior in one's change as a matter of experience. So, on a day-to-day basis, we learn so many things from different sources, actually from the home environment, from the society, and also from the various other aspects of life. So learning is a continuous process, and we learn on a regular basis. And the theory that the learning theories that have been included in the consumer learning theory, and it actually tries to emphasize more on how learning takes place. See, first of all, the manufacturer produces the product. Okay, so that is one part of the story. Next, that product or the services has to be communicated to the customer. See, until and unless that process is not complete, so the learning cannot happen. See, when I say learning, we can say awareness about the product, the various details about the product, and all other aspects related to it. So, when we say learning, it is from the consumer behavior point of view, it is how we communicate to the customer about the various product and services that the organization produces in order to give it to the or sell it to the customer. So, as I said, learning is a permanent behavior in one's this thing as a matter of experience. So, one of the widely, see, like in motivation, we had Maslow's need hierarchy theory. In the same way, we also have learning theories. Actually, these theories have been worldwide referred theories. So, here the theory of classical conditioning. So this theory is given by Ivan Pavlov. He's a Russian uh, psychologist who actually conducted the experiments on the dogs, and he concluded that how learning takes place. How learning takes place. So this classical conditioning. See, conditioning is basically with respect to the minds of the customer. So how do we condition to buy a certain product or see, that is why various selling strategies have been successful. The repeated advertisements have been successful. It is basically conditioning the mind of the customer to buy certain products or services. So this theory of classical conditioning was given by Russian psychologist. His name is Ivan Pavlov. So his pioneering work was based on the famous experiments that were conducted on dogs. So actually, he wanted to know. See, most of the experiments are done on animals, so then they are extended to the human beings. So likewise, this experiment was not an exception. So it was done on dogs, and later the model was extended to know how learning takes place with respect to the human mind. So all living beings are passive in nature. They can be taught how to behave through repetition or conditioning. See, conditioning is nothing but creating a set of behavioral patterns within an individual. See, here they can be taught how to behave through repetition or conditioning. See, right from our childhood, at home, at school, at society, we have been conditioned to behave in a certain manner. See, when I am inside a classroom, I am expected to behave in a certain way. When I am in a religious places, I am supposed to behave in a certain way. When I am in a picnic, my behavior totally changes. So these things we have learned through experience, and these things have been taught to us. And the conditioning of the mind has happened in such a way, it automatically comes to us as to how do we behave in a particular situation. So conditioning is basically emphasizing a certain kind of behavior, or conditioning is uh, what do we say, rewiring how to behave in a particular way. So this classical conditioning theory, given by Ivan Pavlov in the year 1920. So this model is based on stimulus and response model. See, when we say stimulus, see anything that elicits a behavior is called as a stimulus. Say, for example, when I see a snake, my response is I should run away because it is very poisonous. The snake bite might be very fatal. So we all fear snake to some degree or the other. So in the same way, when we see a rabbit, so we don't fear much. Or when we see a peacock or a bird or a dog, we don't fear much. So when we see a tiger or a lion or a snake, so the fear is totally different because different stimulus has elicits a different kind of behavior within us. So that is why this stimulus becomes a very important thing. So in simple, you can take it as, see, for example, stimulus. See, when I am hungry, the stimulus is the food. The response is I must have the food. So there is a stimulus and response. If I am thirsty, I have to have water. So there is a stimulus, there is a response. So water is the stimulus, and the response is I should drink in order to quench my thirst. So likewise, the stimulus is present in our day-to-day life on a regular basis. So how we choose this stimuli, what do we do with this stimuli? So all these plays a very important and a significant role in the learning process. So in the same way, this classical conditioning theory given by Ivan Pavlov, so this is primarily based on the stimulus and response model. So what do we mean by a stimulus is anything that elicits a behavior. So day to day, we come across hundreds of stimuli. Say for example, loud sound will attract. It becomes the stimulus. So a mild noise might not attract us so much, but a loud sound will attract our the attention because the loud sound is the stimulus, mm, and the attraction is the response. So likewise, stimulus is present in our day-to-day life at various levels and with respect to various things. So learning occurs as a repeated connection between association between stimulus and response. See, learning takes place through conditioning, such as classical conditioning, also came to be known as uh, the respondent conditioning. See, here, what was the experiment? See, here, this particular scientist, Ivan Pavlov, he wanted to test this experiment on the dog. So he took a dog for this experiment. He took the meat and he took a bell, a ringing bell, which creates sound. So what happened? First, he rang the bell. So the dog did not had any response. So now it is unconditioned stimulus, unconditional response. Unconditional stimulus, unconditioned. Because the ringing of the bell has no association for the dog. So like this, unconditional stimulus, unconditional response. So first, he did not present any need. So he just rang the bell. The dog did not respond anything. So there was nothing behavioral changes that happened with respect to the dog. So later what happened, next time he rang the bell, he gave a small piece of meat to the dog. He repeatedly did this. Whenever he rang the bell, he gave a small piece of meat to the dog. So he rang the bell, he gave the meat. He rang the bell, he gave the meat. So at some given point of time, what happened? Just a mere ringing of the bell started producing the saliva in the dog's mouth. So why this happened is the question. Because the dog had conditioned its mind that whenever there is a ringing of the bell, I will get the. So this was a very simple experiment, very simple to understand. So stimulus is the meat, the response is the salivation produced by the dog. So now the dog associated the ringing of the bell that it will get the meat. So likewise, the stimulus response model has been widely accepted, and it is a widely studied model even today. So now the question is how this is related to consumer behavior. See, our minds are conditioned in such a way. Say, for example, whenever we see a hoarding of good food during the lunchtime or something like that. So again, that stimulus response concept come into picture. Say, for example, when we have a good aroma of the food during the lunch break, so automatically we start feeling hungry because the stimulus is the food, the response is the hunger. So likewise, the marketers have been using this model uh, for the consumer behavior because almost all the behaviors are learned. So that is why when I said learning is a change in one's behavior as a result of experience. So whether it is a good or a bad experience, so we have gone through those experiences and we have learned. So that is why this see, if I have a, say, suppose I buy a product, the product did not meet my expectation. So next, what happens is that I will not go to that product again because it has not satisfied. So next, I will suggest to my friends and family not to go for that product. So these kind of positive and negative conditioning can also happen based on the experiences with respect to the product or the services. So that is why this classical conditioning theory is purely based on the stimulus and response model. So the stimulus has to create a strong mental um, within the customer, the response within the customer. Say, for example, when we talk about a certain product, say, mm, for example, when if we want to purchase a music player. So automatically Sony comes into the mind because Sony is a very good product with respect to the music industry. So immediately that has been conditioned in our mind that when it comes to music, so we have to buy Sony product. So when it comes to certain other aspect of this thing, we have to buy this kind of product. So, say for example, the best example is the Bisleri water. Bisleri is the name of the brand. Bisleri is the name of the brand. But even today, even though there are many companies which are selling packaged mineral water, so still we go and say Bisleri needs. So now what happens is that Bisleri means that mineral water. So they were the first company to come out with the mineral water concept. So even though today we have hundreds of companies selling the mineral water, so it has been conditioned into our mind that Bisleri and even see today actually we have to say Xerox has become see Xerox is actually the name of the brand name. It is not this thing. So the actually we have to say give me a photocopy, but most of us today we tell Xerox smartphone. See, Xerox is the name of the brand, but today our mind is conditioned in such a way that we don't say much like "get me a photocopy" or something like this. So Xerox means it is assumed that it is photocopy. See, something like this. So today, certain products and services are conditioned to us in such a way that whenever we have something like that, so we decide on that. So here, the stimulus response model is very important for the consumer behavior because any product is a stimulus, but how the customer will respond is their response. So that is why these organizations try to, what do we say, bring about that SR. SR means stimulus response within that customers. So it is very important that the learning happens in a proper way. So organizations or the companies must make utmost effort in order to create that positive stimulus. See, for example, even the negative experiences can also happen. So that also has to be kept in mind. So the stimulus response model is a very important model in uh, this consumer behavior. So next we have uh, operant conditioning. See here it is opposite. See first the stimulus create response. See here the response creates the stimulus. See that is SR model. That is this is RS model. So response to stimulus. There it is stimulus to response. Here it is response to stimulus. So operant or instrumental conditioning, which is one of the most uh, so this particular theory was given by uh, Skinner. So his full name is Bruce Frederick Skinner. In short, we call it as BF Skinner. See, he did this experiment with the rat. So he placed the rat in a designed cage. So that means this cage was designed to meet the requirement of the experiment. So what happened? He designed a cage. So this cage was designed in such a way that actually at some place of the cage there was a lever. So lever means see something when you press the foot will fall down. So lever. So gear lever we so call it. No? In two wheeler we have the gear lever. So once we press it, it will switch on to gear. or if we do it, it will come to neutral. So he created that lever there. So the idea here is if accidentally the rat stepped onto that lever, the food pellets will fall. Pellets means small, round shaped food uh, which was kept, and automatically, if it presses the lever accidentally, the food pellet will fall. So this cage was designed in such a manner. So then he took a hungry rat for this experiment. Because the hungry means the rat will be angry uh, and it will make efforts to search for the food. So based on these ideas, a hungry rat was taken and the rat was placed inside the cage. So initially the rat was very confused, it was curious, it was angry, new environment. So it did not knew what to do. So it kept on moving around in the cage, but accidentally it stepped on the lever and the food fell. So the rat ate the food. So then it did not knew how did this happen. So next again it went round about that cage. Again at some point of time it stood on the lever and the pallet of food fell. So after repeating 4 or 5 times, the rat learned that if I press this lever, the food will fall. So here the accidental response created the stimulus. So I hope you have understood this simple experiment. So first it was classical conditioning was based on the dog. So this is uh, based on the rat. So here what happens is that the response creates the stimuli. See, this we can take it as, see, here the organization needs to do more and more survey and try to find out what exactly the customer wants. See, the response of the customers become more important to create the stimulus. The stimulus means their needs. So that is why we say necessity is the mother of all invention. So here the response must be taken from the customer. Actually, what he needs, what he expects from a product. It is not that I will try to find out and see that may actually meet the customer expectation or not, which we don't know. But we need to find out what exactly the customer wants. What is their response? See, that is why most successful organizations they take feedback after the product is sold. So they try to find out what are the drawbacks, what are the areas in which the product is lacking, so that they can fix those areas and try to increase the customer satisfaction. So the whole idea here is that how learning takes place. Because the marketer, see, some of the most successful products have also been failed. Some of the products has become a mega hit. See, somewhere if it doesn't meet with the response of the customer, the product, however good it might be, if it doesn't meet the expectation of the customer, the product itself becomes not accepted in the market. The product becomes useless in the market. See, again, going back to that example of Nokia and Samsung or other other telecom handset manufacturing companies. See, Nokia thought they already have a good brand name and customer will accept whatever we do. But to the surprise, customers chose Android over the other operating system, the Windows. So now Nokia utterly failed in order to understand the response of the customer. So that is why here with these examples, we need to understand that the response of the customers becomes more important. So the heart and soul of the marketing is trying to find out the need. Where is the gap? All these things have to be understood. So that is why an American psychologist of 1950 he emphasizes that the role of consequences have to play on the process of learning. See, the consequences is good. The consequences is positive. See, why do we buy certain products repeatedly? Say, for example, repeatedly I buy closer toothpaste or some other soap brand or some other thing. Why do I repeatedly buy it? Because that product has given me satisfaction and I have a positive aspect towards those products. So he spoke of response stimulate connection or RS rather than SR connection as proposed by Paulo. The learning took place through the instrumental or operant conditioning. So both are quite opposite to each other. One is based on the stimulus and the response. So their stimulus created the response. Here, response created the uh, stimuli. So these two work on a different level. But actually, which one is better, which one is not better? See, again, that depends upon various other factors, various other parameters, market conditions, and all these things. So, again, coming back to the same thing. So, types of, see, we come across something called as reinforcement. Here, with respect to this experiment, we came out with two important concepts. With respect to operant conditioning experiment, we came out with two concepts. See, one is positive reinforcement. Second one is negative reinforcement. See, now let us see what is positive reinforcement. Consists of outcome that strengthens the likelihood of a response being repeated. Say, suppose I buy a product. Say another example. I go to a restaurant. I feel the food is very good. The ambience is good. The price is reasonably well. So I tend to repeatedly go to that particular place because there is a positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement means repeating a particular behavior because the outcome is positive. Repeating a particular behavior because the outcome is positive. See, next we'll see negative reinforcement, the outcome is negative. So we don't tend to repeat those things again and again. So, how much positively we are reinforced or how much negatively we are reinforced. So, that plays a very important role in this area. So, positive reinforcement in simple it means outcome that strengthens the likelihood of a response being repeated. Yeah, with the example, you can take it as I buy a particular product A. I find it very user friendly. Price is very good. So then what happens? There is a repeated purchase of that product. That means it has created a positive reinforcement. For example, if an activity was followed by a reward, the likelihood of its repetition would increase. See, another example I can give is an employee working in an organization. So he works hard and that hard work is recognized and he is being given a reward, some cash prize or something like that. So now the employee will become more hardworking and expects reward next time. See, that is how the concept of motivation works. Say an employee comes regularly to the work on time. So management noticing this, they reward it. So now what happens? He will continue to come punctually even in future course of time. So this is known as positive reinforcement in general. So now if we have to take the marketing example, women would continue to buy Dove soap as long as she finds that the soap that has a moisturizer leaves her skin soft after the bath. Say now the Dove soap claims that the soap has moisturizer, which keeps your skin moist throughout the day. Say suppose I buy the soap, I use it, and as promised by the seller, it meets my expectation. So now what I will do, I'll repeatedly buy Dove soap because it has been positively reinforced in my mind. The marketer need to fulfill all promises and keep the customer satisfied. See, this is very important. See, making a false claim. Making a false claim can be very easy, but once you are not able to meet the customer expectation, then what happens? The marketer need to fulfill the promises. So that is why if the promises are not being fulfilled, so then what happens? The customer will not buy the product again. So then it becomes a negative reinforcement for him. So this is positive reinforcement. So now what happens is that we'll see mm, negative reinforcement. See, it is an outcome that is also aimed to encourage specific behavior. See, both positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement is a tool which is used to change the behavior, but the degree varies. In other words, through negative reinforcement, a person may be taught to act out an alternative behavior that would be more rewarding. See, for example, in positive reinforcement, I took an example of an employee who comes regularly, he's been rewarded. So once he is rewarded, he is likely to repeat that behavior. So now taking the opposite of that, an employee comes repeatedly late. So first time they warn him, second time they warn him, third time what happens? They cut his 1 day salary. So now by cutting 1 day salary, we are trying to bring about a change in behavior that he should not come late to the office. So now this is the example for negative reinforcement. So next time he comes late, he will always have that in the back of his mind that my salary will be cut. So negative reinforcement is not exactly a punishment, but it is trying to correct the behavior or trying to correct the behavior in order to bring about a learning within that individual. Say, for example, Hindustan Unilever Limited play an advertisement for Pepsodent toothpaste for children, targeted at children. See, especially this particular product was targeted at children. A fear appeal was used. What was that fear appeal? It was said that if you do not brush your teeth, kitanu kha jayenge. See, it was installed, a kind of fear that was installed in the children was that if you don't brush your teeth regularly, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, or once in the night before sleep, the germs will come and uh, have a negative impact on the dental health. So now what happened? The children started repeatedly brushing their teeth in order to avoid the negative consequences of tooth decay. See, this is also what we understand from here. The behavior is, what do we say, is corrected by these kind of strategies. See, for parents, it is said that Pepsodent fight germs and tooth decay 24 hours. Now, children parent began to use Pepsodent in order to avoid negative cancer consequences, that is, the tooth decay. See, these are all the strategy. See, again, we can say Sensodyne toothpaste. If you have sensitive teeth, some people have this sensitive teeth when they drink cold water or warm water because it creates that kind of sensitiveness within their teeth and the oral cavity. So now they have a solution. So if you have sensitive teeth, use Sensodyne. See, now sensitive teeth and sensodyne has been classically conditioned. See, if somebody comes and tells me I have a uh, sensitive teeth, so now I will suggest sensodyne. Or myself, if I have a sensitive teeth, so then I'll go for sensodyne. See, these are the way we can condition the mind. Say, for example, Vicks action 500. Do you have headache? Do you have cold? Do you have body pain? So take Vicks action. सर दर्द है, नाक भी बंद है, जुकाम भी है, हाँ, Vicks action 500 ले लो. See, now Vicks, see, anybody who is having a minor cold and a body ache and all, they will immediately buy Vicks action 500 before going to the doctor. See, it has been conditioned in our way. See, now after COVID-19, paracetamol become a household medicine because today every house will definitely have paracetamol and other mm, multivitamin brands in order to avoid the negative consequences. See, in these kind of ways, what happens? The marketers try to reinforce this. So here we have to keep in mind the two experiments. One is consumer, that is classical conditioning theory, which was given by Ivan Pavlov. So this is based on response creates the stimuli. Sorry, stimulus creates the response. So this is known as SR model. Stimulus is equal to response. So I told you about the dog experiment, ringing of the bell and giving the meat. So at one point of time, just ringing the bell, the dog started salivating. So what happened here? The dog associated that ringing of the bell, I will get the meat. So the dog mind was conditioned in such a way that whenever there is a ringing of the bell, so I will get a meat. So in the operant conditioning theory, what happened it is here the opposite. So the response created the stimulus. So I told you about the rat and the experiment. It automatically pressed the lever, foot fell down. So after repeating those things accidentally, the rat learned that whenever I press this lever, so then I will get the food. So this is these experiments try to tell is that learning how learning takes place. So again, continuing with the last theory, positive reinforcement, positive behavior, and negative reinforcement in order to avoid the negative consequences. So I gave you so many examples of this. So what we have to learn, just a moment, I'll upload. So these experiments are very useful in trying to know the see. That is why these advertisements are repeatedly done in order to mm, create that kind of stimulus response. This thing. So what happens is that so now we really need to understand what are the other aspects related to the consumer behavior. See, here it becomes very important for us to learn influence. See, now again we need to understand that how culture influences the consumer behavior. See, again, now we saw how learning takes place. So now we have to see in detail how culture uh, plays a very important role in the consumer behavior process. So in initial classes, talking about culture, we said that culture is what do we say, the values, the assumption, and the belief that a particular segment of people have. So, Indian culture, Western, foreign, we say Japanese culture, we say American culture. So, we have different culture. So, the culture is known as a personality of a society. See, yes, because culture is one thing which has been formed over hundreds and thousands of years. It includes number of factors such as language, art, ritual, social habits, music, working style, knowledge, etc. See, when we talk about culture, it is not only one aspect that we study. See, when we talk about culture, it includes a whole variety of things such as the language, the art. So, what kind of art we have, rituals, the kind of rituals that we perform, the social habits. So how what is our habits? The kind of music, working style, knowledge, etc., which showcase the characteristics of the society, which showcase the characteristics of the society. So that is why culture has to be learned. In the context of consumer behavior, culture is defined as a sum total of learned beliefs. See, when we talk about culture, it is a learned belief. We learn from our parents, we learn from our society. See, right from the childhood, when we were brought up, we were taught to do certain things and avoid certain things. It will be with respect to value system, with respect to belief, and so many things. So that is why culture is deeply rooted within an individual. So it plays a very important role in the consumer behavior. So culture is defined as a sum of total learned beliefs. So if I respond in a particular way or in a particular fashion, it is also reflect upon my culture. So values and customer that serve to regulate the consumer behavior of the members of a particular society. So the study of culture is very important in the consumer behavior. So any organization that fails to understand the cultural aspect of any particular market, so it becomes very difficult for them to sell their product or create that goodwill within the marketplace. So culture plays a significant role in our need satisfaction. It serves as a guideline in various activities. Products are modified by the market when they are not able to meet the need. See, of course, the crux of the consumer behavior is to know how consumer behave. Why does he behave? So the underlying factor is if we do not study the culture of a particular set of people or a particular country or region, so it is very difficult for an organization to survive. So consumers more often change their values and custom. For example, due to busy schedule, husband and spouse do not have time to prepare food and they depend upon the hotel. See, today this Zomato, Swiggy, all these delivery this thing come up is because see today one thing we can say is people have become very busy in their professional and personal life. So now we know husband and wife, both of them are working and they do not have much of a time to cook at home. So now, as a this thing, these Zomato, Swiggy, and food delivery companies, so they try to tap this opportunity and try to understand what exactly they want. So, instant food market. See, we talk about Maggie, we talk about so many MTR instant food products. Mm, or you might say a puliogre mix or the wangi bath mix. So we have so many ready-made food mm, products. See, now we have to understand why this instant food concept has come into the picture. See, the reason here is that the customers they don't have much time because they are most of the time they are engaged in their work. So now it is a big advantage for the instant food manufacturing company. So the change in the lifestyle. See, this is the best example for change in the lifestyle. See, before husband was going for work and the wife used to be at home, take care of the household work and cooking and everything. So now, since women employees, women also entered the workforce in a very huge way, in a very huge number. So now it is relatively they find it very difficult to manage house and work. So in that context, what happens is that so now the lifestyle is changed, the timing has changed, and all these aspects have an impact. So now the solution is the instant food manufacturing companies. So they have a huge market in these areas, and the marketer is keen in observing it and make necessary adaptation. So now a culture is learned. A person inherits physical characteristics from their parents, such as color of the skin, height, and other things. Culture is learned from family, friends, and environment. See, whatever, see, the physical features is obtained by their parents, and the culture, whatever is being learned, there should be some source of learning. So, how do they learn? Is from the family. So, the family becomes the first house where he learns about the culture, friends, and the environment. So, marketer use promotional aspect adversely to enhance cultural learning among the customer. The concept of acculturation is of much important to the marketer. See, for example, I can say uh, emotional appeal. See, with respect to this. For example, the Tata product, Tata Namak, Desh Ka Namak. See, there is what do we say? There is an emotional appeal in this kind of product. See, acculturation means a person learns new culture which is not in his native culture. See, today, for example, the global food companies like McDonald's and Subways, all these companies, today we have a fast food culture. See, in India, from right from the childhood, what we have seen, we never had this fast food culture. Only it was being evidently visible in Western countries. So today, in country like India, where we are culturally so strong. But what has happened over a period of time? The cultural invasion has happened. What is this cultural invasion? See, today, once the food is available convenient in the form of fast food. See, fast food means fast preparation for people who are having a busy lifestyle. So, food is available within few minutes and it becomes very convenient. So today it is being parallelly created about the fast food culture in our society. So see, I'm not here to argue whether it is good or bad or what it tends to do, but here what we as a marketing subject try to portray is that how the culture, the new culture is being established. So global brand must know about the acculturation. See, especially these company like McDonald's, Subways, and all these foreign companies. See, one thing they have to keep in mind when they are entering a foreign market like the Indian market, Chinese market, and other Japanese market. So they have to keep in mind the cultural values. See, in India, selling a beef burger is totally banned. Any McDonald's beef burger is not sold, but in some other market, Chinese market, it may be sold there. So the cultural sensitivity is also very important. There are three forms of cultural learning, namely informal, formal, informal, and technical. See, culture, formal culture. Formal means it is based on strict rules and regulations. This is how it has to be followed. Informal, okay, and technical is also there. In formal learning, the young members of the family learn how to behave from the adults and the older siblings. So that lessons we have. So we need to understand how to behave in a particular fashion. In informal learning, the culture is learned by the child by imitating the behavior of the others, such as friend and family members. So that influence is also there. So next one is technical environment, in one which the child learns through the instruction given by the teachers and educational institutes. So that is why this culture, how it is learned, is in a formal way, in an informal way, and in a technical way. See, in an informal learning, the culture is learned by child. This is also known as the social learning theory. See, in learning theory, we also have the social learning theory, so which is also one of the important theories of learning. So, how do we learn this culture? See, one is a formal culture; it is an established culture. Informal culture is we learn by imitating our parents, our siblings, or elder members in the family, and all these things. The technical is learned. The technical culture means to say we learn it through the formal schools and colleges. So different aspects, these different aspects actually shape our culture and reshape our culture over a period of time. So that is why this understanding of the cultural aspects becomes very important for the marketers. So culture denotes a group of phenomena which are shared in an organization, society. The common language helps sharing values, customers, and experience. So when we talk about culture, we have a uh, common language, common behavioral pattern, and etc. So transfer of culture can happen at institutions, schools, and colleges, worship places, etc. With the help of commonly shared symbol, culture may be shared. Marketer can fruitfully endorse both the tangible and intangible merchandise to consumer all the way to the mass media. See, today approaching the customer through various sources is also becoming important, and culture keeps changing in order to meet the new social needs. See, culture, see, some core values of the culture cannot be changed. See, that we agree. Core values means which cannot be changed. But otherwise, the culture can say we never had a culture for fast food, so today we have culture for fast food. So we never had a market for instant food, so today we are slowly having the market for instant food. So the cultures keep changing. See, the fitness industry. They see before. These gyms and other health centers, they were not much in operation before. But today, the health industry has grown in a tremendous way. So, what I'm trying to tell by all these things is that the cultures will change over a period of time. So, culture change happens because of change in values, customer, technology, population, etc. So these are some of the variants which contribute to the cultural changes. So India is a male-dominant society where women are not allowed to work, but over a period of time, it has changed completely nowadays, where these women are going full-time, part-time, and overtime jobs. See, especially the role of women, if I talk about 1940s, 50s, 60s, up till 80s or early 90s, the role of women was confined only to the house and taking care of the homely needs. So it was restricted to that. But after the globalization, after I can say in the early 2000s, so women employees started working more and more. So now there is a major shift in the cultural thing. So I'm see it's positive changes that are happening. So today the income generation is becoming more. The gender role and decision making for purchase of the product has changed. See, the purchasing power has increased. Once women has entered the workforce, husband and wife both are earning, the purchasing power has increased. The marketer is carefully monitoring the socio-culture changes in the environment in order to develop new products. So today marketers try to fill those gaps and try to know what exactly they need. One best example when it comes to thing is instant food. we have MTR dosa mix, ready mix, MTR idli mix, so many products. So today there are even products you just put it in a boiling hot water, your soup is ready, your biryani is ready. So many things. See today, why all these things are coming up is because so today there is a cultural shift in the people. So all these things have to be kept in mind before bringing about any changes in the market. The gender role and the decision-making, purchasing power, and monitor socio-cultural changes in the environment in order to develop a new product. See, today the companies or the organizations, they have to closely monitor the changes that are taking place mm, in the society. So why? Because if they try to fail to understand what is happening within the society, it becomes very difficult for them to understand. So that is why this consumer behavior is a very what do we say? A very complex topic. Say, why I say complex is because the dynamics keeps on changing. See what products we were selling 5 years back is no longer in existence today. See, especially we can take it as the phone. See, before initially mobile phone came with a keypad. So today we have touch screen, we have 5G, fifth generation network. So today, with just a phone in your hand, we can send, receive emails, make call, video call, that call, this call. So today, within a single phone, what we can do multiple operations. This. So why these things are being said is because the there is a very rapid change in the technology, rapid change in the mindset of the customer. So the customers are looking something unique, something which adds value to their working life. So there are different dimensions to look on all these aspects. So that is why this consumer behavior is a very tough topic to understand. See, not from the marketer's point of view, from the person who is selling the products point of view. See, other day I was telling you about say in a rural market they cannot buy big shampoo bottles, but definitely this Calvin Klein and other companies, see, they came out with sachets, 1 rupee, 2 rupees sachets. So today you have all international brand shampoos available in sachets of 1 rupee, 2 rupee in urban, rural, everywhere. See, today we have migration of employees from across from rural sector and all these things. So today the affordability has to be kept in mind. What kind of people, what products they want to buy, that has to be kept in mind. So now the lower income group, they can definitely, they cannot go for a big shampoo bottle. So definitely they can buy a small sachet to satisfy their need. So these are some of the, what do we say, changes, positive changes that are taking place in in the society from the marketer's point of view. So these are the kind of understandings that they need to project in order to understanding the customer behavior. So all these aspects has to be kept in mind. So what are the changing needs? When a customer needs? Why a customer needs? Where does he need it? All these things has to be taken care. So this consumer behavior is a widely studied topic, and still there is a lot of research that is going on even today. See why? Because this human behavior itself is complex, very complex, and this consumer behavior is also a complex topic. So why? Because this human behavior itself is a very complex phenomenon. So that is why even the biggest of medical institutions, they are not able to find solution even today to the most of the psychological problems. So why? Because see, these are the complexities that are involved in the human behavior, and from a marketing perspective and from a customer behavior perspective, it is a huge challenge. but still there is a lot of potential in order to understand these aspects. So further, we'll continue, and I think the time is up. So I thank you all for your patience listening. So we'll see the rest of the things in our next class. Thank you. Thank you.